The only kind of qualification you need to get our support is to work in the industry. As a charity, we rely completely on fundraising.
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm not an electrician or I'm not on the front face, so no, I don't qualify. You do, because you still work in the industry. There is a lot of pressure.
People do struggle.
If something in the back of their mind says, oh, I remember there's something that can help me, that for us is a win. We're essentially the boots on the ground in the industry. You're always going to need it. Get a trade. The response has been amazing. We hope that no one ever needs us, but if they do, we're there.
Welcome back. This is episode 3 of the Greenbrook Perfect Contact podcast. I'm here with Kate Adamczyk from the Electrical Industries Charity. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, tell me about yourself. How did you get into this industry?
So I started in the industry about 9 years ago, working for an electrical wholesaler as a marketing manager. And then in 2019, I did a challenge for a cause for the Electrical Industries Charity.
Okay, where was that? Was that
Everest Base Camp.
Oh, okay.
So I was a fundraiser and went and did that, and it was the most incredible experience ever. Then I got to know the charity a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then a year or so later, a job came up at the charity. And I thought, well, it's now or never. Let's try something different. And then I've been at the charity 3 years now.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And you said you worked in the electrical for a wholesaler?
Yes.
Oh, wow. And that was, who was that?
Rexel.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
So national wholesaler, you would have
National wholesaler,
good.
yeah. So I learned a lot there, knew the industry very well. So, that was really great to take that knowledge into the charity with me.
And it's your 120th year for the electrical industry this year?
Yes, it is. So the charity started in 1905.
Wow.
And it was
Remember
started.
it well.
Yes, yeah. It was started by 10 members of the industry that basically saw a need, like people needed help. So they all put a tenner in each, and that's how the charity began. It was very focused on kind of benevolent funds when it first started, but it's evolved over the years, as has the industry. And in 2014, the name was changed to the Electrical Industries Charity,
right?
Which is what we are today. And the focus and I would say the mission of the charity has evolved slightly. So, it was very focused on benevolent and financial.
Yeah.
We're now more in that kind of mental health space and, providing all-round support for the industry as opposed to just focusing in on one thing. So we're very much around helping people, making sure that they've got the support that they need, but also prevention. So training, education, and understanding and helping to break down that kind of stigma in the industry around mental health.
Yeah, and I think, that obviously, I think as I've seen over the years being in the industry myself, mental health is something that is talked about a lot more now, which it should be.
Yeah.
And obviously from my perspective is there's a lot of men in the industry that in the past have probably not spoken about things, but I see it more now with younger people who work at Greenbrook. And I mean, it'd be interesting to think like the people who set it up in 1905. I don't know if you know this or not, but were they wholesalers? Were they contractors? Were they the 10 people? I don't even know what they would have been.
I don't know. We did find, because obviously with it being our 120th year.
Like history.
With our 120th year, we were looking in kind of like the archives, if you like, to try and find, a timeline and different things like that. And we did find a history book that was written probably about 20 years ago, that talked about all of that timeline and how it began, and like the first fundraising event. I think it raised £600 or something like that, the first fundraising event. And so we have pulled all of that together and we're putting it out there like to celebrate our birthday this year, with different stats and facts. But I don't know what they did. I'm going to find that out now. I think it'd be good
because I think just me being like it'd be
inquisitive.
Good to see. Yeah, and also I think to see what they did, like the very first fundraising event that they did, if you could replicate that, and if they raised 600 quid,
can we raise 600,000? I mean, that's a big one.
Possibly. Well, no, possibly could.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking from a perspective of just be good to sort of to see what they did in those times, really, because I quite like the history of it all and stuff.
Definitely.
And I've worked with the Electrical Industries Charity for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And obviously we've supported a lot of events over the period of time. So how does the electrical industry, how do you help our industry? Who do you help and what sectors do you cover?
Yeah. So basically anyone that works in the electrical or energy industry.
Right.
So you could be in a warehouse picking product. You could be a contractor out on the road. You could be a salesperson going around the wholesalers.
Yeah.
You could be an admin assistant in the office. The only kind of qualification you need to get our support is to work in the industry.
Right.
And not only be actively working in the industry, but we also support people that are retired as well. So if you have worked in our industry.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And so that's the only thing you need. There's no memberships, there's no fee. It's completely free and confidential. And we're basically there to support people with life's challenges. So that's a very broad statement. And, you know, you see other charities that help with specific things. So maybe like Alzheimer's or cancer or things like that. Whereas we help with all of those things. So we often say, even if you're not sure, contact us, because 9 times out of 10, we'll be able to help you, or we can signpost you somewhere that can help. So one of the, I would say, the key things that people are coming through for support is mental health support. And that could encompass lots of different things. So it could be stress, it could be depression, it could be financial worries, and that's why you're struggling a little bit. It could be relationship breakdown. It could be you've been diagnosed with something and you're not sure where to go or what to do. And the unique thing with the charity is that no one case is the same. So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
You'll come through to us, you'll be allocated to a case manager. And that person will stay with you throughout the time you're with the charity.
Right.
So you're not speaking to a robot, you're not speaking to someone on the end of a phone, you know, in a call centre. And we will go through with what's happening for you and, you know, some of the key issues that you're finding, and then put a plan in place to help you get through that. And, you know, we're all about high impact short term. So we will put a plan in place. We can normally get you, you know, if you needed counselling, in front of a counsellor within 48 hours.
Right.
And you will go through that process, and then we will make sure that when you are no longer getting support from us, you still have a plan in place.
Yeah.
So you're not just kind of hung out to dry, as it were.
Yeah, I think so. So I know you mentioned mental health a lot, and I think it's great. I mean, do you think that's the biggest, obviously, rise in phone calls that you get? I mean, we have an employee assistance program.
Yeah.
I think I've had, you know, people at work that I've recommended that employee assistance program to, but I still think there's a stigma in actually making that phone call.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do you reach out to almost tell everyone what you do? Because that's probably the biggest challenge, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there is still this stigma around mental health. We're a very male-dominated industry, and we know that males struggle more, maybe, to reach out. So we also know that the majority of the time, people don't disclose what's happening for them to their employers.
Yes.
So that's one of the really important points to get across, is that if someone does come through to us, it is confidential. It will not be discussed with your employer, even if you're referred from your employer, because you can refer people in as well. If you notice a team member is struggling, you obviously need their permission to do that, but you can refer in. But anything that is discussed with your case manager, with your, whatever that is completely confidential. So I think that's a really important thing to say. In terms of raising awareness, this is one of our key missions. You know, we want anyone in our industry that needs help to know about us and to know that they can get that help. So we're doing a lot of things around that. We do lots of marketing, so social media, emails, you know, the website, things like that. And there's loads of information on our website. But we've made a really conscious effort this year to get out there more. So we've been going to industry events like the Installer Show, or, you know, to things like Beamers events and things like that. You know, those key people within our industry. We work really closely with the EDA, with ECA, places like that, but just trying to get out there more and raise that awareness. And we're also we put a plea out to everyone in the industry, whether you're a manufacturer or a wholesaler, can you help us raise the awareness? So can you put our material on your trade counters or in your offices?
Is that because I think probably I spoke to some wholesalers before coming here, and I thought I just want to ask them that, what do they feel is needed more?
Yeah.
And I know that I speak to contractors as well, but I think that's probably the one area that I need to improve on, and manufacturers need to improve on. Is that I always think at my level and manager level and people who attend the events and those sort of things, but it's below that I think probably gets missed.
Yeah.
And so my customer services team, I probably need to do more to tell them about the electrical industry charity and what you do.
Yeah.
But I think if I went into a wholesaler, I don't see the electrical industry's stuff around as much as I think. Yeah. So the guy on the trade counter, the guy in the sales office, those things. So how are you growing that side of it?
Yeah, totally agree with you. And we've been working really hard to try and change that and improve it. Yeah. So we reviewed all of our material and kind of brought it all into line and, made sure we had all of the things that could help with this. But one of the key things is that we're trying to get more relationships with the wholesalers and the manufacturers. As you said, we have great relationships, but it's at the kind of the top tier.
Yeah.
And it's how do we get in at the grassroots, basically. So we've got something called the Ambassador Programme, which is it's basically anyone can join it. It's to help us spread the word and raise awareness and, have people out there. We're a small team, so the more people that are out there talking about the charity, the better. We provide them with resources. We have quarterly meetings, things like that. So that's a great way to get involved. But also we've now got a online portal that anyone can go onto and order material. So one of the challenges was how do I get your stuff in my branch or in my office, And it was quite a difficult process. So we've now made it a lot easier for people to get that information. We're doing loads of marketing campaigns. And then the other thing that we do is every month we have a pack that we send out.
Right.
So it's a digital pack and it includes kind of PR pieces and articles, case studies.
Okay.
It includes links to our marketing toolkit, our portal, and things like that. And that goes to all of our PR partners, but also people like the wholesalers and the manufacturers. So anyone can request that.
Because I think that's something that we want to give out to our staff as well.
Exactly.
And I think that should be encouraged to do that. And I think because we're sort of, I think the more awareness we give out to people, the better.
Yeah, definitely. And we have so many things that we can help with. If people just get in touch with us, then, we will work with you and work out, what's the best way. Do you need us to come in and do a talk and raise the awareness that way? We can do that. Do you need us to maybe do a joint campaign internally for your people? We can do that as well. We're really open to kind of any suggestions. And also, our training side of things, you can book and use some of our training, which helps raise that awareness as well and helps with that kind of prevention side of things.
And how is fundraising going then from that side of things? Obviously, I guess since COVID, it's has it got back to where it was? Is it better than where it was?
Yeah, I mean, the year after COVID, it was a bumpy year because everyone was just so happy to be, to be out. But as a charity, we rely completely on fundraising.
Yes.
So it's not a membership. There's nothing like that. It's all fundraising, and everything that is fundraised goes back into the charity.
So do some people think they've got to pay to be a member?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, particularly in the contractors and installers. So, I think there's sometimes a mix up between maybe some of the other bodies out there, like, NIC, EIC, those kind of places, where they think they have to pay to be a member, but you don't. Literally, just call us and we will support you.
If you work in the industry, you're a member by default. That we should make that clear. Obviously, from our perspective here, is that
definitely
that you don't need to pay a subscription to join the
Yeah.
electrical industry charity.
And also, you know, sometimes someone that like maybe works in your marketing team, for example, would think, oh, well, I'm not an electrician or I'm not on the front face, so no, I don't qualify. You do, because you still work in the industry, you know. But from a fundraising point of view, you know, there's various ways that we fundraise, and we're very lucky and thankful that the industry is very generous, and does support us. But we do events, as you've touched on. Like, we do about 30 events up and down the country each year with the help of our regional committees. We do challenges that people can sign up to. So next year there's a Snowdon by Night that you can come and do with us and fundraise. I think you should do it. I think you should do it. Have you ever done Snowdon before?
No, years when I was young. A long time ago when I was.
It's a nice one to do.
Yes, no, I probably will. I will sign up to do that. I just I was asked by a couple of the manufacturers that I know are doing it, and they were like, "Text me, you're doing it, you're doing it." So okay,
it will be a good one. It will be a good one. We've had a lot of interest in that, so that's great.
You've done Kilimanjaro, and
we did Kilimanjaro last year with one of the biggest groups that we've had. We had 27 participants, so that was amazing. That was a tough one, and then we've got Vietnam as well next year.
That's good.
But like, these are all like quite big things, you know, and some people might not be able to commit the time. They might not be able to afford to come to some of the events, but there's loads of other ways that you can help. So this year's been an amazing year. For our 120th year, we challenged ourselves in the industry to raise an additional £120,000.
Oh, okay. Fantastic.
On top of all the other, you know, all the other funds that we get in. And the response has been amazing. And we have seen people do amazing things. So we've had people literally walk across hot coals for us to raise money.
I saw that.
We've had people do Spartan races, jump out of planes, do bungee jumps, do a bake sale, have a wellbeing morning in the office, you know, like so many different things. And we have got a big focus on our community, basically. So we have a monthly newsletter where we recognise all of these people for doing these things for us, and you know, we help them promote what they're doing and set up fundraising pages. We've got a handbook that gives you ideas. Like, there's so many different things you can do.
I think we need to be looking at sort of raising it, and because we've had like where we've raised money for charities, other charities. I think like baking cakes. I bought a cake. I didn't bake one. I bought one, and I pretended I'd made it, but everyone knew I hadn't. But we work with, like, we did it for Macmillan. So do you work with other charities as well on those sort of things? So
so you know, we're a small team. There's 15 of us in total, and in order to be able to provide the support that we do, we work with key partners. So someone like Macmillan, to give you an example, who are an amazing charity. You might be with Macmillan and they're supporting you on your kind of cancer journey, you know, maybe supporting you with some counselling, but you can't afford to get to your appointments. We could help you with that and provide that kind of wraparound. Or maybe Macmillan can't give you any more counselling. We can step in, you know. So I think it's really important to get that across, that we work with all these other charities. We work with like Prostate as well, and Andy's Man Club and things like that. You know, Andy's Man Club did a wellbeing talk for us recently.
What was that, Andy's?
Andy's Man Club. So it's all around kind of suicide prevention and encouraging men to open up and talk. So we work with people like that. We work with the Lighthouse charity, which is a construction charity, but also more like, obviously, counsellors. We have some amazing counsellors on our books, as it were. So, you know, specialists in addiction, in relationships, in all sorts of different things. And then some of the more practical side of things. So we've obviously seen financial distress go up quite a lot in the past couple of years with the cost of living and energy crisis, you know, and there doesn't seem to be kind of, that's not going anywhere, right? So we work with an amazing lady that will do a free kind of financial health check with you. Go through all your incomings, your outgoings, look at where you could be saving money, you know, looking at your future as well. How are you protecting yourself for the future? And, things like Money Advice Trust, we work with them. Like, are you getting all the benefits that you're entitled to? And then other things like, maybe you're going through a relationship breakdown and you need some support with a child arrangements order, for example, but you can't afford a solicitor. So we work with an amazing company that are paralegals, and they are much cheaper than a solicitor, much more accessible, and can really help people. So that's just some examples of the different partnerships that we have and the signposting that we can do. But it allows us to offer the best service to the industry.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I mean, I think obviously cost of living is going to be something. I mean, you could just see it.
You can.
And I don't, it's like from our industry, it's sort of, I think it's fairly flat at the moment. But I think I see it, when I'm looking at things, the way that prices go up and all these sort of things. I think the world's gone a little bit mad, if I'm honest.
Agreed.
On pricing.
Agreed.
But I think that's just the way it is, and so that you offer that support is really, really good.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're really lucky to be able to do is to move very quickly and react very quickly.
Right.
So if we see something coming through a lot more, we will react to that. To give you an example, workplace stress was starting to come through a lot more.
Right.
So we were able to, at the time when it was happening for people in our industry, put things out there to try and help with it. So a training course on workplace stress, like how do you as a business support people in that? How do managers within your business support people?
Well, identifying it as well would be good, because I think probably people don't always see it. Managers don't always see it.
Exactly. So, the training covers all of that, but also resources that we put out there. So, in our newsletters on our website, there's kind of, self-help, like tips and tools to be able to help with these different things. And that's where we're really, we don't have to wait 6 months to react to something that we're seeing in the industry. We can react there and then and try and help people in that moment.
Being proactive is good. And I think that's the one thing that I've seen is probably with my own business and working at Greenbrook, is you see that people do struggle, and I see it with other people. And we have, like I said, we have our own employee assistance program, but the fact that we've got the electrical industry support as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, even just talking to you now, I'm thinking of things that we could do to raise the profile.
Yeah.
And I think something simple like QR codes, even if you had an electrical industry's QR code on our products, people could scan that and it takes them straightly to what you do.
Yeah, and I think, those are some of the conversations we've been having with people. Could you we have a proudly supporting the electrical industries charity logo that people can use. You could put it on your literature. You could put it on your uniforms. You could put it, that. There's so many different ways on your vans, whatever that looks like. There's so many different ways that businesses in the industry can help raise the awareness of the charity. And, and it's great that you and other people have got employee assistance program in place. Like, it's really important, because go back a few years and maybe not as many people would have that. But the only thing I would say is that the unique thing about the electrical industries charity is that we know the industry.
100%.
And we know the pressures. It's an amazing industry to work in, but it's a tough industry. It's high pressure.
Why do you think our industry? Because I when I go to the dinners, I know you do your presentations before the dinner. And I always sometimes look around and I think, oh, blimey, because our industry is portrayed as being quite bad in certain sectors. Do you think our industry is more pressured than plumbing industries, or why do you think that is?
I think maybe not more than plumbing, right? But that kind of construction-y trade type industry, it is tough. And because there is a lot of pressure, to get your numbers, to deliver the service that you need to your customers. And it can be there's a lot of lone workers as well. So if you think about, an electrician in his van on his own, he might not speak to someone for the whole week. And that, we're humans, we need connection and we need interaction. And I think that can be quite difficult. You also find that in that contracting space, they're an electrician, then all of a sudden they're running their own business, and they never set out to do that. It's just grown arms and legs, and they're now running a business and they don't know how to do it, you know. If you think about in manufacturers and wholesalers, you've got salespeople out on the road that, again, might not speak to someone for...
It's a lonely job.
It's a lonely job, and it's pressure, isn't it?
Yeah.
That and if you add in then the cost of living crisis and all that kind of thing, the pressure to bring that money in and to, like, you know, do well at your job and stuff, it's hard. And as you said before, like, there is sometimes a perception of you just get on with it, like, you'll be fine, get on with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, over the years when I was younger, it was definitely like when I sometimes look back at, like, when I was a young sales guy on the road, when I worked for, like, a building company.
Yeah.
And some of the things my manager used to say to me
I
would
mean,
be like,
yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah.
And even go, like, he used to have, like, a league chart of sales guys, and you'd be like 1 to 10, and if you were down the bottom, he'd write comments by the side, like, and you think, oh, if you did that now, it'd be like, incredible. Like, my God, you can't do that. You can't say those things.
You can't, exactly.
And quite
you
rightly,
know.
you shouldn't say those things.
No,
but...
and I do think as well, a lot of this comes from that education. I genuinely believe that people are trying, and sometimes, you know, they might have been in the industry for a long time, and what was okay then isn't now. But, you know, maybe they don't understand that, or have not been educated enough. So, you know, that's one of the things that we talk about a lot, kind of like, arm yourself with this information, you know, do a training course on diversity, equality and inclusion, you know, do our training course on sexual harassment, like, whatever that looks like, you know, just educate yourself so that we do as an industry move forward.
Sometimes when you do go to the dinners, you do think that our industry is very male orientated.
Yeah.
And I said before, you know, that there's been things like when I've gone to the EDA places and when you've gone to the sort of forums, we are trying to get more women into the industry.
Yeah.
But it's difficult.
It is, you know, we need, like, more women, more young people. You know, we are an aging industry. Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hot under the collar. We're an aging industry, you know, and we do need these young people to come through. And we definitely, you know, obviously I was saying earlier about we're lucky that we can react and do things immediately. So we started to see more young people coming through to get support from us. I mean, there's not as good awareness in the younger people in our industry. So we're working really hard to try and raise that awareness. But we did start to see more come through. And so what we did to address that was, like, we need to do something to help them, because even if we do attract these people into the industry, how do we keep them, you know? Because they're probably some of the lowest paid in our industry. Yeah. They're dealing with a lot of other pressures that you might not know what's happening. You know, maybe they're a carer for, you know, for their parents or a sibling. Maybe they are homeless. Like, you don't know what's happening for them. So we introduced a series of free mental health training courses specifically for apprentices and young people in our industry.
Right.
And they're based on real life case studies. You can do them on your phone. It's all online. You know, they're bite sized, so you can do it module by module, and it covers a huge range of topics. So homelessness, caring for someone, banter versus bullying, racism, relationships, addictions. And I would encourage any apprentices out there to take a look at that and do this training, because it can really help.
Yeah, and I think the ambassador program you said earlier,
yes,
I think that would be good. And I think you could certainly get more people to do that, which would to support all the things that you just spoke about with younger people.
Yeah.
Because even I know people who sort of, I'd say my age, we're old, as you know, is of our age demographic. I think you could get more ambassadors, because I would be interested in supporting you more.
Yeah.
And I think certainly this, I'm not just saying it because I'm sat here, outside of here, I think we could do more to support, certainly within our business, but actually through the industry as well.
Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, that's probably the one area I'd say that from the electrical industries is that awareness at that, like I said earlier, at the wholesaler level, trade counter level, sales office, my customers, you know, those sort of areas are where we sort of lack really the awareness.
Yeah, and you know, I've talked about some of the things that we've done, and next year we're really focusing in on that. And you know, we'll still be getting out there and going to more events. We're looking at things like getting things like branded air fresheners onto trade counters. We've started to get them into some of the trade counters, and we're doing another lot this week. I think they're going out. But the idea being there's something that is in their face, and they might not need it then and there. So a lot of times when we're doing things like this, or we're going out to events, you might speak to someone on that day and they will forget about you, and in one ear out the other. 6 months down the line, they might see a friend in the industry, or they themselves might be struggling, and if something in the back of their mind says, I remember there's something that can help me, that for us is a win. It's you're not going to get it overnight, but the more that we can work with people like you and others in the industry to get the word out there and get the material, get the brand out there, get the material out there, so that it's in people's front of mind.
Air fresheners is a good one, because I say just having it in their car. Those sort of the vans and those sort of things. And like you said, obviously from a perspective of just seeing the logo, that obviously you changed, and So what you got coming up? What events you got coming up? I know that you've got the Powerball in November. Have you? That's
next week?
Next week, wow.
Next week. So it's very busy in the background at the minute. So Powerball is one of our biggest fundraising events. It's one of the most established events that we do. It's in London on Park Lane. It raises a lot of money for us, and the theme of it this year is all about our 120 year and our community. Basically, we have got loads of Christmas events coming up, regional events up and down the country. They're all on our website. I won't list them all out, but lots of events that people can get involved in. And then for next year, it's more of the same in terms of making sure that we are there for everyone that needs us and raising that awareness. So we're going to be focusing in on our kind of key partner relationships within the industry, which hopefully this will now be.
Absolutely.
Raising the awareness with contractors, with young people and apprentices. So more of that. So we've got lots of things planned. We're looking at, to get to the apprentices and younger people, we're looking at a college plan, basically, a college rollout plan. So how do we go straight to the colleges and, and attend their events, get material there, get the free training to them. So we're looking at things like that, and we're also working with people like eFix who are doing college road shows and going in. They've got our material.
Yeah, that's a good one to do, actually.
Yeah. But what would be great is, because it's great me standing up and talking to a room full of apprentices, right? But if we could get some of the apprentices in the industry that would be willing to talk about the charity and be that voice, maybe be an ambassador, that would be amazing, because I think it would resonate much more.
Would be good. Probably someone that if there's people that you've helped, because I always sometimes think, I always look like I sometimes don't always know the good things that the industry do, because as you talk about like how our industry's bad for this, bad for that, and I sometimes think that we could talk a bit more about the good stuff, the good side of things, especially like at the dinners, when you're at the dinner, and I know you've got the videos that you've done before at the dinners. So when you mentioned earlier about regional, do you think, is it going to go, because some of the big events are quite costly? I know it's supporting the industry's charity and those things. So, but obviously smaller companies probably struggle at that level sometimes. Yeah. So is it more opportunity to do things at a regional level for companies that...
Yeah, I think so. Like as you say, the Powerball is there. It's an amazing event, but it's not realistic for everyone in the industry. But this is where the regional events, they're really good value for money. They're not thousands and thousands of pounds to attend. You can buy individual tickets. You don't have to buy a whole table. There's also sponsorship opportunity, which is really reasonable. This year, we started doing a couple more informal networking type events, which seem to have gone really, really well. And that also leans into the attracting newer, younger people to these events, because they don't always want to have a 3-course sit-down meal and things like that. And so the networking events have gone really, really well. And we'll be doing more of them next year. But, as I said, we're so open to any ideas that people have that want to work with us. So, if you could choose this as your charity of the year, and, raise money for us throughout the year. Just little things. It doesn't have to always be this huge, this huge thing, and we can help you with that. You can donate to the charity. You can, even if you did purchase one of our training courses for your staff, that is helping. Like, all of that helps towards it. You can do your own kind of challenges. We've talked about Snowdon, which you are doing.
Well, I've signed up yet, but I will do.
He said, I'm sure you said you were going to do it.
I definitely will do.
So we've talked about that in Vietnam, but maybe you want to do your own thing. Like, we had a team this year do Helvellyn, like a group of them do Helvellyn. They just went and did it themselves. We supported in terms of fundraising page and things like that. We've had people do Snowdon, or do a quiz night or a curry night, or like there's so many different things, and we do want to work with companies in the industry, and yes, from a fundraising point of view, but we also want to work with you, as you said, to improve our industry, because no individual company or person is going to be able to do it on their own. Like, we all have to come together to that common goal and work together to evolve the industry.
Yeah, so Kate, obviously it's great to hear about the charity you're doing. Obviously, from my perspective, is I know the work that you do is good, and obviously it's fantastic support to the industry. But I guess my question is, obviously this is what you actually do, but how do we take that a step further and work with, obviously, to make it bigger in what we're doing in the industry?
So whilst we can't directly influence legislation or lobbying or anything like that, what we can do, we're essentially the boots on the ground in the industry. We know what challenges people are facing, what pinch points they're facing, and where those pressures are. So as long as we can keep having those conversations with the people that can influence those higher things, then that's only a good thing. And I think we've talked a lot about it's a tough industry and things like that, but it is also an incredible industry. And I think that's one of the key things to get across, is that, attracting new people in, and is it a good place to work and things like that. Well, yes, it's amazing, because the very nature of what our industry does is you're always going to need it. You're always going to need an electrician. You're always going to need a plug to put in your house, or a light, or you're always going to need that. It's a very stable industry in that way, and there's some really exciting things happening. If you think about all the renewables and net zero and things like that, there's so many things that are coming down the line, and we do know that once you're in this industry, it's very hard to get out of.
I vouch for that. Once you're in, you can't get out.
How long have you been in the industry?
Nearly 30 years, I would say.
There we go. And there are so many examples in our industry of people that have joined as maybe a driver, and then I run in that business. Like, where else are you going to get that? We definitely look after our own, and obviously the very nature of what the charity does is we support people that are struggling with something at that point in time. It's a moment in time, but it's still a positive, because not many industries have charity dedicated specifically to them, but B, the whole point of what we do is to try and get people out of that, out of that difficult time that they're in, and it keeps people in our industry, it creates sustainability, and we do get positive outcomes.
And I see that as well, because obviously I see that through people I speak to, and I know that I guess what I was saying earlier is, if we align ourselves, because you're our charity basically. If you take the industry, there's no one else. Everyone really is funneled towards supporting the electrical industry, and I think that's how it should be.
Agreed.
And I think it's up to, you mentioned the ambassador role earlier with how you have that with different people in the country, and I think from my view is working with BEMA, the EDA, all those people, the buying groups, to make sure that there is that at the top, and then we filter that down. But I just think it's important that we all know that the charity, you're our charity. The electrical industry is you. So you mentioned, like, with net zero, you think there's loads of, I think there's lots of opportunities in the industry anyway, but the industry is changing, definitely. And you're seeing that from the what you're seeing that because you know our industry well.
A little bit of that, yes. Know the industry well, and also just thinking about some of the talks that I've been to, and things that I hear about. There is this massive opportunity, and even in my time at Rexel, we were talking about EV charging and like a whole thing on how to get the contractor to start installing them, and like it's just a big plug, it's nothing to be scared of. So all of that kind of comes into it, but I think it's just this thing that there is this opportunity, and especially on the electrical side, because if you look at just your home, everything's going towards electrical. And this is why sometimes I can't get my head around why there aren't more people training to be electricians, or to come into this industry. I know people in this industry that did start off as electricians, but now do work in the manufacturers or the wholesalers.
I see that a lot.
Which is great because you've got that knowledge there. But I think, that there are so many opportunities. And for us, so we work really closely with the electrical side, manufacturers, wholesalers, things like that. What we see in the next 5 to 10 years is that it will become kind of the renewable side of things. We'll start to work more closely with them as well, because it's going to become bigger, if you like, in our industry.
Yeah, I think I don't think we've seen all that sort of come to its fruition yet. And I think where I see the changes, even like with my own children, as they were growing up, they never said, I want to be an electrician or I want to be a plumber or those sort of things. My son now has just joined our industry.
Oh,
he's 21, but he's moved to Bristol. And he's
you do find that as well? Like if
you get...
Absolutely. Generational.
But he never wanted to join our industry.
But let's be honest, like I never knew what I wanted to do,
No.
like who does? I think unless you want to do, I always remember like that thing of get a trade.
Yeah,
like,
that was massive.
Yeah, it was huge. Get a trade because you're going to have a job for life.
Yeah.
And that's still true now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But, even when I was younger, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I've worked in waste management. I've worked in kitchens, like all the glamorous things, I just knew that I wanted to work in more of the B2B trade side of things. And then I've ended in the electrical industry. But if you asked me when I was like 20, do you want to work in the electrical industry? I don't know,
Absolutely.
I don't know, but I guess it's some people come into it by chance and then stay, which is great.
Whatever you say about it, it's a great industry, it's a personable industry as well.
It is, and a caring industry. People do care ultimately, and as we've talked about, there's so much more awareness around mental health and things like that now, and we hope that no one ever needs us, but if they do, we're there. And how many industries can say that,
No, and I think that's why it's so good to have, why you're here now, why can we talk, so we can raise the awareness of the electrical industries in our industry. And I say, I haven't talked to my son about the electrical industries charity, but he will hopefully see that as he develops. But like you said, who wants to be an electrician?
I know, but it pays the bills.
But I'm actually hearing that now. If you look at like some of the government, they are saying trades, these are, and I'm going to an AI conference in London next week where they're going to tell me all about what's happening with AI and all these things. And I'm going to come away and think, oh my gosh, we're going to be run by robots, whatever it may be in a few years' time. And we won't need electricians because robots will do it, but they never will.
They won't.
So, and I saw a thing where it looked at all the industries that will be affected by AI.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were not our industry. It's not.
Yeah.
Like salespeople, you can't replace, whilst they say it will, you can't replace face-to-face contact.
No. I think, even if you look now at kind of some of the like vocational courses that are on offer and some of the things that the government are doing around apprenticeships and different qualifications that you can get. I read something the other day about a different qualification where it's not quite, if you're not sure what you want to do, and it's a bit more practical and things like that. I think there's a lot, and I've read the same thing as you, where actually some of these trades are the things that aren't going to be affected by AI and things like that.
They can't be. And just think, I think that I was saying about the educational stuff because they had the T levels going back a few years.
Yes.
And I think they've got this new qualification now that they introduced last week. So I read that also. But I think from my perspective is I do see that people talk about the technology that's coming into our industry and all those sort of things. But you're right, it won't affect.
No, and that's also, you know, if you do think about AI and all this technology, well, what does that need? It needs data centers. That is part of our industry.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's another huge opportunity. And yeah, I think the thing for me is that pretty much like most of the things that you talk about and that you see like an influencer, you can link it back to the electrical and energy industry. You know, there is always an input from our industry into all of these things. It might not be completely obvious to start with, but yeah.
So where do you think your challenges are coming from in the next 5 years for the industry?
So mental health support will continue to be a huge thing for us. It will continue to be a huge thing. As I mentioned earlier, we are an aging industry, so we'll see more people start to retire, and with that brings its own challenges. You know, a lot of people when they retire, there's loneliness there. There's maybe relationship breakdowns because, you know, someone might have been working away for 20 years and then all of a sudden you're spending all this time together.
I never thought about that, but I get that one.
Yeah, you know.
That's really good, actually.
So there's definitely that element of things, but then also, it's these younger people. For us, how do we make sure they know about us and how do we support them in the way that they need to be supported?
Yeah.
You know, silly things like they might not want to speak to someone on the phone. You know, they might want to like text, WhatsApp, whatever that is in the future. You know, how do we make sure that we're still relevant to the industry and have evolved with it? And also the kind of energy renewable side, we definitely see more of that coming through. But we just want to keep doing what we're doing. We want to get more of a voice with people in the industry so that we can tell you what we know and what we're seeing come through. We want to partner with more people to raise that awareness. And, you know, we want to be around for another 120 years, essentially, supporting the industry.
I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
I think it's really good for our industry to have you.
Yeah.
So I've never used it, and I don't know, but I
hopefully
see.
You never need to.
Hopefully, and I guess that's where we want to get to.
Yeah.
But I think from my perspective, obviously, you want to make sure you get the fundraising. Keep that going.
Yeah.
And I see that all those, but I also see that there is younger people coming in. I have noticed that when as the dinners, you go to the dinners, you go to things, that there is more younger people coming in.
Definitely.
And I do see that, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I saw at a contractors dinner as well that I was at a couple of weeks ago. There was the ECA dinner and there was a lot of younger people at that as well. So from that side of things, I think it's good.
Yeah.
But I guess from a challenging perspective, obviously your biggest challenge is raising money, I'm guessing. So
yeah, you know, it's always this balance with us around raising the awareness, but making sure that we've got the funds to be able to keep doing what we're doing, you know, and I think, but they go hand in hand. You know, the more awareness that we raise, the more people that we help, the more people that know about us, the more likely they are to fundraise for us or to donate or, you know, corporate donations, things like that. So it's kind of this circle of we just keep going and, you know, just, and even if, you know, it can sometimes be quite difficult that we do need to raise money and we need to fundraise, but there is a cost of living crisis as well. And we know that the businesses are feeling it as well.
Yeah, definitely,
So yes, we need money, but also even if you can't do any of that, what you can do is tell someone about us.
Yeah.
You know, you might be at work one day and see that someone's struggling a little bit or just notice that maybe something's not quite, not quite right with them. You just mentioned the charity. Did you know that there's this place? We've got these little cards that you can just give to people, you know, even if that's all you can do, that's still amazing.
And I'm definitely going to make sure that we do that within our company. That everybody knows, like the guys in the warehouse, they probably wouldn't even know.
No,
and that's on me, of course, to raise that, and obviously the directors of the business. But I think from my perspective is it's something that we really want to, listening to, just spending an hour with you now makes me feel like I should do more. So hopefully other people can watch this and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, I definitely am.
Yeah.
But I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
So,
and we're really thankful for the opportunity to come and speak to you, and for this to be going out there. And I would just say to anyone, just get in touch with us. If you need support, yes, but if you want to work with us and you want to do more stuff, like go on the website, email us. I'm always there. You can just get in touch, and then we can have a conversation about what we can do.
No, it's really good. I'm just thinking now that when I retire, I'll go tell my wife that I'm going to still stay away 2 nights a week. So you don't need the electrical industry's charity.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
She's got to put up with me for 5 days a week.
I know. Well, look, it's a big thing.
It is.
It's a big
put up
thing.
with me for 5 days a week. So
do you play golf?
I do, but only with work. So it'll give me the chance to.
There you go. See, just go and play your golf.
Absolutely.
You'll be fine.
So, okay. Well, look, I thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic having you. You've driven a long way, so I really appreciate it.
But well worth it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.